Throughout the years, Mario has faced a very wide variety of enemies that I've had tons of fun looking at across several videos on my channel. I do want to branch off and look at other great Nintendo franchises, but before I do that, in one of my last videos about this topic, I wanted to look at every Invincible enemy in every Mario game. Now, what's considered an enemy and what's not in the series can be debated, so I'm going to separate enemies that have a face, seem alive, and interact with Mario, from ones that could be considered obstacles. Oh yeah, and before I get started, my name is Copycat, and please subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell button to stay notified when I upload new videos. Also, I did release some merch in celebration of hitting 100,000 subscribers, so if you do want to check it out, then hit that link in the description or the comments down below. The very first game in the series, Super Mario Bros. For the NES, doesn't have any alive enemies that are invincible, but does have a few indestructible obstacles in the Fire Bar, which is literally a spinning bar of fire, the Padobu, or what it's better known as, the Lava Bubble, and the Turtle Cannon, which shoots out the bullet bills. I'm not going to mention these throughout every single game unless something drastically changes, which it does throughout the series, especially when more overpowered power-ups are introduced. Super Mario Bros. 2, the second North American release on the NES, has a few very unique invincible enemies that actually don't show up in any other game in the series. One that's technically an obstacle but still alive is the whale, that shoots out water spouts that can be used as platforms, but will damage Mario if you accidentally touch its sides. The only other enemy I want to mention that's actually somewhat invincible is the Phanto, which is a mask that's usually found guarding keys and starts to attack you once the key is removed from its position. Although the Phanto can temporarily be defeated by using a combination of the stopwatch and the star power-up, it does come back once you enter another room carrying the key, so I have to include it. The third and final game in the original trilogy, Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES, has a few enemies that are invincible to Mario's attacks, but like the first title in the series, most of them act like obstacles. There's the stationary Bowser statues that shoot lasers towards you, the Stretch, which are boos that are attached to platforms that rise up from the top and bottom, moving along the surface trying to damage you, the Rocket Engine that expels flames out periodically, and the Gelectro, which are glowing electric jellyfish that can deal damage to you but can't be destroyed. The Hammer and Star power-up kill pretty much every enemy in this game, but if I did leave one out, then let me know in the comments below. The first handheld game in the franchise, Super Mario Land, released for the Game Boy in 1989, was another Mario title with very unique enemies, having only two that are invincible. The first of these is the Tamao, which appears during the Muda Kingdom's Dragon Zamzu boss battle, acting as another obstacle to make the fight even harder. This strange floating bubble enemy does damage to Mario if he touches it, and technically can't be destroyed, although it does disappear when the battle ends. The only other enemy in this game that's invincible is the Genkotsu, which are literally giant fists that punch downwards trying to squish Mario right before the game's final boss battle. This is the only place they appear in the game and come out of the pipes as if they were piranha plants. Super Mario World, which was released for the SNES in 1991, has several invincible enemies, including a few new obstacles I want to mention, along with some from past games that have been updated, and a few that can only be defeated randomly by a slide attack. I'm not going to mention every single new obstacle, as there are a few that are obviously indestructible, like the pillars, the skewers, the chainsaws, or the ball and chains, but I do want to showcase a change in a specific enemy in this version from its previous Super Mario Bros. Form, the Thwomp. In this game, this enemy is now indestructible, and even the star power-up won't do anything to it. Another type of obstacle enemy that's been updated in Super Mario World is the Podoboo, as it's the first time in the series that the lava bubbles appear to have eyes. These bubbles are invincible in this game, but can be bonked off of by using Mario's spin attack. The Boo is another updated enemy I want to mention, as it has specific versions of it that can't be defeated, which are mainly found in the world's ghost houses. The normal Boo Buddies, the Big Boo, the Boo Buddy Snakes, and the Eeries can all be defeated by either the star power-up or by throwing grab blocks at them. However, 4 other versions of this enemy, the Boo Buddy Block, the Circling Boos, The Boo crew, and the Fishing Boo are all indestructible, where all you can do is dodge their attacks to advance. The last enemy I want to showcase is the Bowser statue, which appear in this game, but this time comes in a gold form that hops around the level chasing after you. Although it can't be destroyed by normal means, it can be led into a lava pit, which will technically defeat it. Super Mario World cemented the place of many classic Mario enemies in the franchise, which became very common throughout other titles through the years. Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, released in North America alongside Super Mario All-Stars, doesn't actually add any new enemies, so for the purpose of time, I'm gonna skip over this game and go right to Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, for the Game Boy. The sequel to the handheld original is a much larger game containing a variety of unique enemies that never reappear again in the series. Although most are defeated by a simple bonk off the head or using a Fire Flower power-up, there are actually a few that cannot be destroyed. One of these enemies are the stars, which are found in the second stage of the Space Zone, acting like stationary obstacles that can also damage Mario if he touches them. An enemy that actually appeared in the first Super Mario Land game that's invincible is the Genkatsu, which are giant fists that try to squash Mario, but this time in the form of Wario's hand. The only other indestructible enemy is the Fire Pakunzo, which is this game's version of the Bowser statue, but this time a piranha plant. Although they do have spiked heads, you can actually jump on them to progress through levels. I feel like I do have to talk about a few undefeatable obstacles, as they are very unique in the series, like the Karamembo, which are thwomp-like obstacles that crash down and rise up trying to squish Mario, the Furiko and Furizo, which are spiked balls that move back and forth like a pendulum, another spiked ball in the Guru Guri, which spin around in place and need to be dodged, the Vashichi, which are spinning blades that move along tracks, and the Wakiri, which are saw blades that move back and forth on the ground. The Super Mario Land series is incredibly different than any other in the franchise, and I hope one day Nintendo revisits aspects of the series, which I'm sure would make for a great game. The very first 3D game in the franchise, Super Mario 64, which was released in 1996, introduces many new enemies, many of which are completely invincible. I'll also be talking about the Nintendo DS version of the game, as there are a few differences due to some power-ups and playable characters. One enemy that's different between the two versions is the Bubbas, which is only found in the game's Tiny Huge Island course. In the N64 version, this enemy can actually defeat Mario in one gulp and can't be killed by any means. However, in the DS version, you can use the Super Mushroom power-up to grow incredibly big and actually squish it. The Super Mushroom can also be used in the DS version to defeat the Thwomps in Whomp's Fortress course that are usually indestructible. The Fwoosh is another enemy that changes as the introduction of Yoshi and his ability to eat things leaves this enemy completely vulnerable. Yoshi can also eat the Karumpa balls in the DS version, allowing him to spit fire. Wario is a character that can also defeat an enemy that's usually indestructible, most notably the Tox Boxes, which actually can die if Wario jumps in them or punches them into the sand. Moving on to enemies that are invincible in both versions of the game, starting with two Thwomp-like enemies only found inside the Pyramid of the Shifting Sandlands, the Grindle and the Spindle. These are obstacle enemies, with the Grindle acting like a more cubed platform version of the Thwomp, moving up and down, where the Spindle is more cylindrical, continuously rolling from side to side. Other obstacle-based enemies that can't be killed include the Amp, which is an electrified metal ball that circles around an object, the Bomps, which are stone obstacles that move in and out of a wall, and Tornadoes that send Mario flying up into the air. In terms of actual unkillable enemies, and not obstacles, there's the very annoying Heave-Hoes that actually throw players behind them, either allowing you to reach a higher platform, or flinging them high up enough to make them take fall damage, and the Mad Piano, found in Big Boo's haunt that tries to bite you with its extremely sharp teeth. The last group of enemies I want to talk about are found in the game's underwater levels, starting with the Cheep Cheep, or Bubs as it's called in this game, which don't really outright seek Mario out to attack him, but do deal damage if it's touched. There's also the Sushi, which is also harmless, the Unagi, or Mare, which is found throughout Jolly Roger Bay, and also the Clams, that sometimes contain items inside of them, but will deal damage to Mario if he's caught inside. This game was a huge step forward from the usual 2D Mario platforming games, and that was definitely reflected in its wide array of enemies. In comparison, Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube has a very few amount of invincible enemies, which is surprising in a game that's considered one of the more difficult in the series. Two of these enemies that actually later turn out to be friends are the Chain Chomp and the Chain Chomplets, that both appear in Pianta Village. These enemies appear hot at first, but will eventually cool off if you use either the Flood or lead the Chain Chomp into a bath. These also cannot be defeated by Mario, but with Yoshi's help, you can eat them, where the last one will almost always give you a blue coin. The next game in the series is New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo DS, which brings back many of the more classic Mario enemies with a few changes. A good example of this is with the Mega Unagi, which is a gigantic version of a Malray that can't be defeated even with a Mega Mushroom or Star power-up. That's pretty surprising, as the Mega Mushroom can defeat basically every enemy, which is why the Mega Unagi is the only non-obstacle foe that's invincible in this game. In terms of obstacles, the lava bubble acts more like its original counterpart, being displayed as faceless with no way of defeating it. The only other completely indestructible obstacle is the fire bar, that you think could be destroyed by storing the Mega Mushroom using a glitch, then powering up with it in a level where one of these appear, but you'll quickly see that it has no effect. Mario's next console game was Super Mario Galaxy for the Nintendo Wii, which brought in some very futuristic space-like enemies along with some old ones, a few of which are invincible. Some of the new additions that can't be defeated include the Bonketti, which is a spring-like obstacle that's meant to delay Mario when he's using the Boo power-up, the Eye Beamer, which shoots lasers from its eye that will try to damage you, the Jump Beamer, which sends out circular lasers that can damage Mario but can be jumped on as a spring, the Jump Garter, which also can be used as a spring, but instead of lasers, releases top minis when Mario approaches it, the Ring Beamer, which emits circular shockwaves but cannot be jumped on, and the Sentry Beam, that hovers in place, firing lasers at Mario when he approaches. A few returning enemies are also given invincibility in this game, like the Clampy, the Amps, the Bomp, the Thwomp, the Tox Boxes, and the Twister, which is actually the first time this specific enemy is given eyes. Many from this game also show up in the sequel, Super Mario Galaxy 2, so if that's the case and there's no direct changes, I'll probably skip over them and just go over a few new additions. New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Wii actually only has one completely invincible enemy that can't be defeated in any way, shape, or form: Clampy. The only other enemy that comes close in this regard at all is King Bill from World 9-8, but this foe actually dies once you touch the level's end flagpole. With the introduction of the Propeller and Ice Flower power-ups, many indestructible enemies from past games can now be killed, although that doesn't make this game any easier. Super Mario Galaxy 2, released for the Nintendo Wii in 2010, adds even more enemies to the franchise's roster, including a few that can't be killed in any way. These new additions include the Mattermouth, that eat the ground out from under Mario that only pause for a second, then change direction if they're stomped on, the Magmar and Magma, which are lava-based enemies that pop out from time to time trying to eat you, the Spiky Gummet, which appears in the Chimp Skating Challenge as an annoying obstacle, the Tongari, which are conch-like enemies that move very slowly, and finally, the Romps and Flomps, which are cousins to the Thwomp, being obstacle-like enemies that you have to platform on or avoid. The only enemy from the past Super Mario Galaxy game which is now updated are the Boos, which in this version cannot be defeated by any means, mainly because there aren't any lights in this one to make them disappear. Mario's next adventure is actually a very different experience in Super Mario 3D Land for the Nintendo 3DS, as it perfectly combines all great aspects of past games in the series, including enemies. There aren't many in this game that are invincible, as Statue Mario, which can only be found in the game's Special World, lets you defeat them in situations where they're usually indestructible. In terms of enemies that can't be killed, there's actually only the Magmar, which raises out of the lava, acting as an obstacle, but it is pretty easy to dodge. The next game in the series is New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS, which also has a very low number of invincible enemies, only adding one new one that can't be defeated in the Boo-Hemoth. This giant Boo chases Mario throughout a few of the game's ghost houses, where not a single power-up can even affect it. The only other enemy in this game that can't be killed is a version of the Bowser statue in the Bowser sculptures that are found on the walls of some castles and breathe fire towards Mario. This game introduced items that made Mario way too powerful, allowing you to easily kill enemies and clear levels in ways that you weren't able to in past entries. The next is a much more improved game in the series. New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Wii U included several invincible enemies, but only added a few brand new ones. These include the Grolls, which are a subspecies of the Thwomp that are found as rolling obstacles trying to squish Mario, and the Bowser Stunner, which is an electric statue that carries a current through it. Some returning invincible enemies include the Magmars and Magmas, the Dry Bones, and the Thwomps, which in this game can only be defeated in boost mode when the player with the gamepad's meter fills up and they enter Boost Star mode. The next game, Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U, includes several new undefeatable enemies, with one that can actually kill you in one hit, the Fuzzy Horde. This horde of fuzzies slowly rises through certain levels, forcing Mario to avoid them while platforming towards the goal. The Charge Bar is another new enemy that can't be killed, actually killing Mario in one hit throughout several lava levels. Another new enemy / obstacle is the Grumblump, which you need to use to traverse across the lava, but if you're not careful, will easily cause you to fall in. The only other enemy I want to mention from this game is the Ring Burner, that blasts either a circular or square plasma ring outwards from its center trying to damage you. These burners cannot be destroyed, but can be disabled momentarily if you stand on top of one. Super Mario Odyssey is a very different game in the franchise, as controlling Cappy allows you to become your enemies, really changing what you'd expect from a Mario game. These foes can still be defeated, however, but there are a few indestructible ones, some that can be captured, and some that can't. Ones that you can capture that are technically invincible include the T-Rex, which can't be killed by any normal means, but can be intentionally dropped into an abyss. One capturable enemy that can't be defeated at all is the Taifu, as it floats in midair, meaning there's no way to drop it into an abyss. In terms of enemies that aren't capturable, but are invincible, there's only the Bifrost, which is a monster pillar hiding in the ground, popping up to attack Mario, and the Mawray, that dashes out of its hiding spot to attack you when you pass by. This game has some incredible moments where you could become some of the franchise's most iconic enemies, and I hope it's a mechanic that appears in future Mario titles. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment what you thought about it down below, and of course subscribe to my channel. Also, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do have some new merch in celebration of hitting 100,000 subscribers. So if you want to support me, then please click the link in the description and in the comments to check out this really cool hoodie. Finally, if you could go follow my Instagram at Copycat Gamer, I upload some really cool clips on there and items from my collection that you won't see anywhere else. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!